So when I used to go to the expo, the Ashbury Expo,
Yeah.
it was like 33 hours of flying time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So that doesn't include your stopovers and your getting to the airport early and that sort of stuff, you know. So
that's rough. I never think about that they have that in America. Although they have one in Mexico, but I don't think they have one in Europe. Although Europe has their own kind of things, and then Australia. I
yeah,
don't know.
there's a big
What
one in Europe. There's one in Germany one year, and the next year they do it in Italy, which is the same as the expo over there in America, you know.
Yeah. So, what's your what's your story? I don't even know where to begin because I don't know anything about you. I don't know anything about Australia or the
Yeah,
boiler market or what you're doing now. It's kind of different and unique. And
yeah,
do you have high school ish? Is there high school in Australia?
yeah. So you run a high school. So I did it up to year 10, and then I left in year 10 and carried on from there. And then normally go to year 12, which gives you an education or a mark to go to university, you know.
All right. And what did you do after that?
I guess from my point of view, I'm a truck driver now. I've been in the boiler game for about 30 years, and trying to find podcasts to listen to, and I found yourself, and listen to the podcasts. Every one of them I've got up to so far. I think I'm about up 49 now. There's so much relevance there that I've experienced, or just go, yeah, this guy's right, and training and that sort of stuff. You know, it's the fitness thing and mental game. It's really cool what you're doing, and I just wanted to put my story forward, I suppose, what I've done over the years, and my experience as a technician to a office man to starting my own business and working my way through, you know, to and the last of it, I had to put my business into administration about 2 years back. So the highs and lows of the boiler game as such, you know.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear that you resonate with it. Sometimes I feel like I'm on an island. I'm still pretty relatively unknown, and like I have listeners to the podcast, but I only get a couple messages here or there like, "Oh, great podcast," or, "I like this episode," but I haven't gotten any like in-depth feedback of people who listen, and I'm always like, "Am I like the only one saying this? I can't be the only one saying this," cuz when I
Yeah,
talk to people, I can basically tell them, or they we have we basically finish each other's sentences of like our experiences. And across the United States, every company has problems, but they're all basically the same. And I assume it's the same around the world. I mean, humans are humans. The problems are going to be pretty much the same. Just the culture and laws differ a little bit.
yeah, 100%. And you know, we work with ASME or ASME code over here a little bit. You know, I found Hurst Boilers over there in Georgia. We worked with those guys for a number of years, importing their product into Australia, which is a great product though, as well. But I guess like for me, when I first started in the boiler game, little do I know, when I was about 10 years old in primary school, um, a buddy of mine at the school there, his dad was a stoker on a steam engine for a vintage steam train facility, you know. And we were as kids up the front there throwing the coal there in the boiler to get that thing going. And little did I know then that the boiler game was going to be my industry for the next 30 years when I got older, you know. So it's pretty cool, you know. And then starting out in the boiler game, I was working on a race car, so I'm heavily into sprint car racing and that sort of stuff, like dirt track racing. I was working for a guy, pit crewing for him, and I was lost my job at an auto parts shop. And I said to this guy, "Can I use you as a reference to get me a job somewhere?" You know, I wanted to be a mechanic, so yeah, all good. So he rang me back and he said, "Look, I've got to put a boiler in here at a dairy. It's a big 300 horsepower Clifford Brooks boiler it was. You want to come and do 2 or 3 days work, give me a hand just to get this boiler ready to go in, and then all good. So ever since then, I've been in the boiler game. So 3 days work, and 30 years later, I was still doing boilers. So, and I pulled that boiler out about 6 years ago and put a Hearst boiler in its replacement. So pretty cool. So yeah,
what is the cost to ship a boiler across the world?
uh,
I guess do they just put it
yeah.
in a
So prior
container?
to COVID, it was pretty good. So we were shipping a 500 horsepower Hearst boiler from Georgia to Western Australia. That would cost us about 40,000 Australian, so about 30,000 US to ship it across. We won a big contract to supply a 1,500 horsepower I tube, which is a 4-pass Hearst boiler. We had a quote from the supplier prior to COVID, which was about $60,000 to ship that over. At the end of that, end of COVID, we had to ship it, and they quoted us $149,000 to ship that across to Australia. So that job there is what pretty much brought me undone with my business. We had a big job that we signed up prior to COVID. It was about 1.6 million to supply a boiler only. We got that job prior to COVID. During COVID, we did all the design and layout and design approval, all the drawings and nozzle loads, and a heap of stuff designed for integrate into their system on site there. Then we went to order all the parts for it, and we're like, this job's going to cost us 3.2 million, and we had an invoice value of 1.6. So the cost of labor and all the materials through that COVID period just went through the roof, and went back to the client to get some more money, and they sort of said no. So unfortunately, I had to throw the keys in. So 14 years of my own business down the drain in overnight, pretty much. So very upsetting and very hard to do. All part of the fun and learning along the way.
Yes. So you when did you start your company?
So I was a technician for about. I started in the boiler game in '92. I'm going to say as a technician, and then worked my way up to a service coordinator. Now the service coordinator job, I'm telling you now, is the hardest job in the industry. When you're scheduling guys, they've all got different attitudes and problems and life things happening. They've got babies or uh, things in their life, getting home loans, that sort of stuff. It's really hard to schedule two guys that can't work together. So you got to use another guy and that sort of stuff. But then I worked through that up to a service manager role for another company, and I was there for about 2 or 3 years. We had a big year there, and we made about $1 million profit for the business. And they come to me and give me a 1.5% pay rise after that deal. And I went, "You can't be serious. I'm going to do my own thing." So I went back and spoke to my wife, and we're going to do our own thing. And then I was actually racing a car at a track called on the asphalt in Bathurst in a 12-hour race over there. And I hit the wall there, and I had to pay for the damages. So I'm looking at going down the straightaway there after I crashed this car. I look at the bonnet saying, "Dude, you want to do this? You need to have your own business. You can't afford to do these damages on wages. So I came back and I went to my boss, said, "Look, I'm going to hand my notice in. I'm going to do my own boiler game." And that day there, they marched me out the door because I told them I was going to do, and I'm a competitor to them. So that day I got marched out the door. So at that time, we just had a newborn, our first child, and our daughter, and the government gave us when you had a child back in those days, $5,000 bonus. So that's what I started the company with $5,000. Went and bought a little ute or a truck, as you call it, and then got my insurance in place. And then because I've been in the industry a long time, had a good rapport with customers around the place. I had a lot of clientele that would chase me up, and there was one client, two clients, and then over the years we built up to a really big company. So it's a hard slog. I was drinking water and eating stale sandwiches and that sort of stuff there, is trying to make ends meet for probably 12 months until we got going properly. But yeah, it was pretty cool. And in the end there, we had nearly 35 employees there at one point. You're trying to find 100 grand a week for wages. It's a big deal. So And obviously training's part of that, you know.
What year was that when you quit and started?
That was 2009.
All right.
Yeah.
And before then, you service technician to service coordinator. Shout out to all the service coordinators too.
Yeah.
Difficult job, just as you said. And how did you? So you said you were 10. How did you learn boilers and troubleshooting? Did you have any formal schooling, on the job training? What was that process like?
So basically, uh, I grew up in a country town, so I was hands on building bikes and pulling lawnmowers apart and repairing engines and that sort of stuff as a kid, you know. So my background when I first started was more of a fitting type of background. And then you sort of lean into, you start a boil up and it don't start. You've got to figure out why it's not running, you know. So you start the process of elimination, and then we got some training on electrical stuff and got electrical license as a restricted Sparky, so we can fault find and change out like for like components. And then I got a gas ticket, did a 3 week gas course, and you get a gas ticket, and then yeah, you're back in those days. This is back in the 90s, pretty much. It was a lot easier to get electrical and gas licenses and stuff. Whereas nowadays it's a lot more complicated, which is a good thing, I think. Um, to get that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's more trial and error and just applying myself to the task of fixing breakdowns or faults and um, teaching yourself pretty much on the way. But there's been some training on the way as well in business coaching and that sort of stuff as you get a bit older and carry on. But yeah, the boiler stuff was teach yourself pretty much back in those days.
What is the process to get licensed? Does everybody that work on boilers or pressure vessels need a license from the Australian government or like a province?
Yeah, for your province, pretty much for the state you're in. You can ask for interstate recognition, which if you go interstate with some work, you can have a license to work over there as well. So you can ask for recognition and get signed off and approved to work in a different state or province there. Um, but the process at the moment to get a gas ticket, you need to have an electrical ticket first. To get so in Australia, they call it Type B class license, which allows you to work on um, basically your industrial commercial units as such. If you have an A grade license, that's pretty much your household stuff, your instantaneous hot water system, such sort of 50 kilowatt sort of stuff, small stuff. But yeah, you need to have a B grade gas ticket in Australia. But to get that first, you need to have an electrical license. Whether it be restricted or a full electrician, whatever you want to have as such. And then with your Siemens stuff, like the LMV stuff, you need to do the LMV course with Siemens and to be an approved uh, person to get the passwords and sort of start to work on the Siemens stuff in Australia as well. So
What is it? Just you need to prove so many hours of experience and then take a test to
yeah,
get the license?
basically electrical licenses. There's practical stuff, and then there's an assessment as well. And with your Type B gas ticket, it's basically a 3 week course you go and do. So it's 2 weeks away at a course, and you have a break for about 2 or 3 weeks, and then you have another week, and then you get your ticket, and then you apply to your what do you call it, your local government authority, and they give you a gas ticket. Now, I don't believe in that. There's so many guys that have come out of there who are a plumber. No offense to the plumbers, but they want to be Type B gas fitters, and they come out with this ticket and go, I'm a Type B gas man now, let me at it. And they've got no experience whatsoever, and they're working with, 1,000 horsepower boiler. And they've got no idea. So I don't believe in the process at the moment, but unfortunately, that's what we got. So we used to buddy our guys up with your more experienced guys to give them some more experience and exposure. And it costs a lot of money for the company, having a guy follow another guy around for 2 or 3 months. But if you don't invest in training, you're not going to go ahead. So um, it is what it is. We had two guys on call. We have a guy who was new. He would take the call, and he'd have a buddy that would he'd give it a call to and go to site with him for a call out. So I was paying two guys to be on call and two guys to attend a call out during the night. And the next day, if you have a call out, you're missing two guys on the road. But if you don't train, you don't get ahead. So it is what it is. We're just having to invest in our guys and hope for the best.
Is there non-union labor in Australia?
Not really. There is unions here. A lot of the construction sites we go to is union. What do you call it? They're a union site, but you don't need to be a member to go on site. You just got to abide by their rules, pretty much. And to me, unions are good, but they're bad as well. They cost a lot of money, a lot of nuisance stuff for nothing, um, in my opinion. But they do some good stuff as well. But they can cost the company a lot of money for their rubbish they go on about. You got to have a TA to carry a toolbox for a guy and this sort of stuff. It just gets ridiculous. It just adds a cost to the job that you don't need. It's not necessary. So,
What is the boiler market like in Australia? Is it process? I don't know how cold it gets in Australia for heating. Is it all process?
yeah, so we have the same as in America. We have some cold areas. I don't know how to convert it to Fahrenheit, but we get 0 degrees here or below zero in Celsius here in places. So our HVAC season, we call it, starts around April, and we'll go through to like September for heating your buildings and that sort of stuff. All across Australia. There's some states like Tasmania, they're pretty much cold all year, pretty much. So they've got a bit longer HVAC season. But that's when you start getting all your calls for a boiler been sitting there for 6 months doing nothing, and all of a sudden it needs to go and don't go. So you're rushing down to get them going again. So, but there is a lot of steam around as well. A lot of industrial kilns and burners for process for making dynamite for the mines. Um, you've got your dairies, you've got hospitals, we've got abattoirs or meat workplaces, sawmills, lumber mills. The same things you got in America we got here. So there's a lot of steam, a lot of thermal oil, and a lot of hot water heaters around the place. So yeah, it's pretty much the same.
I know
I feel.
mining is a big thing in Australia. Do boilers, is there any role in the mining process?
There is, especially in like the copper or the gold mining places. They use elution heaters in the gold places to strip the gold. And then you got your little kilns that they run the product through a kiln to burn off um, certain stuff and get a different product at the end of that, which then goes off the process. The steam process in different mining, as in your lithium plants, a lot of lithium over here, which is getting shipped to China. That's part of their process. A lot of its pressures sort of around the 160 psi sort of pressure. There is high pressure stuff, but most of it's all sort of the 160 psi sort of boiler range in the steam plant over here.
Are there any boiler manufacturers in Australia for industrial boilers? Because you said you were shipping Hearst, so
Yeah.
I would assume that it'd be way cheaper if somebody built it in Australia.
Fortunately not. There is one company that builds some boilers in Queensland. Everybody else ships their stuff in from Indonesia or Philippines, China, Vietnam. Everyone's getting their stuff built there, which is, look, I don't want to rag on them, but we all know their quality of their steel and their processes and their welding qualifications are not the best. I wanted to do something different, so a lot of the popular boiler in Australia is a vertical bi-tube, vertical boiler, like a Fulton 20J or 50J sort of thing. They're a down firing type boiler, where the burner's on top, firing down into the furnace there. And the other guys, they bring in same thing, but they get a package burner on top, and they're built in Queensland or they're built in Vietnam or wherever else. But I wanted to get something that was fired from the side, so I found the 4BT range with Hearst, which is a 4-pass. boiler, and I just don't like the down tube ones where when that burner turns off, heat rises. So all your flame scanners and all your electrical works inside the package burner there, when that burner turns off, they get hot and burnt and deteriorate. And to work on them, you're on top of the boiler there working away, hot as, trying to lift the burner up, and it's just not economical or safe in my opinion. So we found the Hearst guys and got on well with those guys there, and we had a point of difference. We had easier working access to the burner as a selling point for us because it was safer to work on the ground than up in the air. We had 4-pass design where everybody else is the 3-pass, so we're getting more bang for buck out of your fuel going to the burner. And same with their fire tube boilers. We're buying fire tube boilers out of there, and they were a 4-pass with a Stackmaster economizer. And we had one client here, a big meatworks. They had a 800 horsepower Cleaver Brooks and a 600 horsepower John Thompson water tube boiler there. We pulled the Cleaver Brooks boiler out. We put the 1,000 horsepower Hearst boiler in there. We could run the whole plant on one boiler, and we saved them 30 grand a month in gas. They were pretty stoked with that. They didn't economise everything else. So, and technology that improved with the LMV systems and that sort of stuff was a big help. But yeah, it was pretty cool to put that in there. And you sell it to somebody and it works. It's a good thing.
Did you use a lot of the Siemens LMV systems?
Yeah, quite popular over here in Australia. Yeah, everyone's starting to use a bit more. So in Australia, it's predominantly Siemens. Little bit of what's the other one called?
FireEye Autoflame.
No, no Water Flame, the Fire Eye. Can't think of it. It's Italian one. But yeah,
I don't.
just Logic
I don't know anything
Control.
about it. I don't know anything about Italian burner systems. I assume you're just importing burners from either Europe or America as well.
Not from America, mainly from Europe. So Y-Sharp's quite popular. Riello, New Way burners. I was importing some burners from Italy called SBR. They were quite popular in the end there. Didn't have any auto flame or that sort of stuff over here. It was mainly Y-Sharp but I mean the Cleary Brook boilers, they were quite popular in Australia, and a lot of those CB boilers, they had their own integral burner. They had a cup sort of burner on them. So and they're a really good burner, right? They're very efficient, very good. For their age, they still can't beat them, really.
Are you ordering gasket kits from America for a Cleaver boiler?
No, I get them all made in Australia. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Some parts you're going to get from there, like your nozzles or your. They got an agent here in Australia, so you got to buy it through the agent here in Australia. So you can't buy it from Cleaver Brooks direct.
In America, there are some boiler manufacturers that have operations in China that will build pressure vessels and then ship them over and finish the boiler here. Do
Yep.
you get pure Chinese boilers getting shipped into Australia that are like, I don't know, Shanghai boiler or something like that?
Yep, we get stuff from China, but to get it into Australia, you need to have design approval. So when you install the boiler and you commission it all, you've got to put a submission into the local authorities. And to do that, you need to have a bit of paper saying this boiler has been checked and verified or designed verified by an engineer. So you need to go to an Australian design engineer and get approval at all the welding, all the material certs, design, the hydro testing, manufacturing processes, all to an Australian standard or a relevant standard, whether it be ASME or something like that, or ASME, I don't know what you guys call it, but and they'll sign off on it, and then you can submit that paperwork to the government authority, and they approve the installation and such. But yeah, a lot of guys get boilers built in China or Vietnam or Asia, and get them off here in Australia, build their own control panels, and put their own burner on it, and badge it. I want to badge that and send it out. So, and there's a place here in Perth, a little uh, Chinese food manufacturing place, and they're replacing a 20 horsepower steam boiler there every 2 years. So it's just crazy. We go and tell them because it's cheap, but we go and offer them a Hearst boiler, and it's like 100 grand for an install, and they're like, "Oh, too much. We'll get a boiler for for 20 grand and get this guy to install it and everything else for 30. You're like, can't compete. So it's not a customer you want to have, I suppose.
What is the emissions requirements like? Do you have NOx requirements?
There's no NOx requirements in Australia at present, no. I think they're heading that way, but um, we certainly sell it as that way. We go and sell the NOx and everything else. We're following Europe, we're following America, and this is a low NOx burner and all that sort of stuff, but there's no actual requirements at this point to have NOx on your boilers as such. So
Is natural gas plentiful, or is there a lot of remote areas with like fuel oil or propane?
so natural gas is so all the what do you call it, the built up areas, all the cities in Australia, they've got natural gas running in your house, in the street, up the front, or your building, you got gas in the street, which is piped from the gas fields up north. So there's plentiful of natural gas. And if you go out to the remote areas, a lot of the guys will be on propane out there, but a lot of the mine sites now are going to liquefied natural gas. So they've got a plant on site there that they're bringing LNG converted to natural gas on site, and they run that. So because the LPG price or the propane price it's almost dearer than diesel. So I don't know what you call diesel. Is that number one fuel or number two fuel?
Number two,
Number two, yeah. There is
kerosene
a
is number one.
yeah, it's a number two fuel. And there is some places very limited, but there is a few places that still run bunker fuel, the heavy oil. Getting that quite cheap, but it's not refined very well and very hit and miss. You get a truckload of fuel come in and it's all different to the last load, so you got to reach you in the burn them again, and they're 4 or 5 hours out of Perth. So it's a trip down there and recommission.
When you were hiring service technicians, how did you find and train them? Are you just asking, hey, do you have these licenses? Well, if you don't have any boiler manufacturers, there's no factory training.
No, it's hard. Like yeah, we pretty much run an ad full time, and you get some people come through that just moved from New Zealand or England or South Africa or wherever else who have got boiler experience. If they've got boiler experience, you pretty much do the job. They're very far and few between. Like in the state where I'm in, Western Australia, there's probably about 30 guys that are fully qualified to work on boilers. So a lot of those are retired now. They're very hard to get. I found the easiest ones to get, or the better ones to get, was a industrial electrician, because they were still a bit wild when they went to the first boiler. Because I don't know about in America, but a lot of the boilers here, there's no wiring diagram in there. You got to start from the import there and work your way through to find your fault. So it's a bit of a different process to being on a mine site, changing a motor out, changing a pump out with 3 or 4 wires. I found the Sparky or the Cushion was the best ones to get, and obviously there's some guys that just aren't going to make it and they're got to be on their way. But yeah, the Sparkies, and then you put them through a gas course, and it was about $12,000 for a gas course plus their wages to go and do it for 3 weeks and accommodation and everything else. So you have to invest in these guys and hope they hang around. So that's a big risk, but if you don't train, you don't get any better. So you got to take that risk. So we've had a lot of guys that got their licenses and took off, did their own thing, or left another company. Or the thing that amazed me was the guys come in and just completed their gas course, got their ticket. Oh, I need a pay rise now. I'm a gas fitter now, and you're like, I'll just pay 20 grand, dude, in training you and everything else, and you want a pay rise straight away. You don't appreciate what I've done for you already. Strange old thing, and then they get other companies here. They got a gas ticket, so they go and poach them and offer them $5 an hour more, and then off they go. That's 22.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance between the best companies are the ones that create their own workforce and train them up. But if your competitor relies on you to train people and then just offers them more money than really what they're worth and just poaches them, it is a business practice that the people will jump. And yeah, you can put in some like clawback stuff and oh, if we train you and you got to work 2 years and all that stuff, but
It
it
means nothing really.
it never in my experience it never really, it can get messy because if you pay 10 grand and then somebody leaves, what do you do, sue them for 10 grand? Like
Yeah, and it
that.
costs you 20 grand to get it back. Like that, it's I was flat out, and I was running the company. You're flat out, and you haven't got time to. Yeah, all right, here's what it is. Sign it off. Move on. Next page. Let's go. You know, let's put it behind us and move on, and try and improve on it. I suppose, but you got guys that hang around and do the right thing. We used to do stuff for our customers, for our clients as well. But even the guys, Christmas time, we would get them all a big Christmas ham and take it home, and then we'd have a big party at the workshop at the end of the year, and we'd have jumping castle there or an animal farm come in, and they bring their wife and their kids in or their grandkids in, and they'd have a great time for the afternoon celebrating Christmas in the workshop, and the kids used to love that, and they used to be always asking grandpa or their dad, like, Dad, when are we going to your work again? And had the big party, and they looked forward to it, and everyone looked forward to their Christmas ham at the end of the year. So I think we looked after our guys pretty well. It sort of hurt sometimes. There was one year there I gave all the guys $1,000 cash as a bonus, and so a lot of guys said thank you and everything else, and there was one guy that said $1,000. Is that it? And I'm like, dude, there's 35 staff here. I've just forked out 35 grand today in cash. And I'm going to pay tax on that because I put out of the business account. So in essence, it cost me around 50 grand to do that. But all they see is just $1,000. You know what I mean? So, um, that hurt me a lot when that guy said that to me. Because I want to give him more, but it's 35 grand, a lot of money that I forked out that day. The highs and lows with the boiler game, and then all our clients, we used to give our big clients a Christmas ham, and they would look forward to that every year. They would be like, "Oh, hoping you would come." My wife's been asking me if you come around here with a Christmas ham for us this year, and all that sort of stuff. So I still get messages now. Even last month, December, it's like guys making contact with me and just seeing how I'm going, and they missed and seeing me for Christmas ham this year again. So um, that was pretty cool. But yeah, it's a hard thing, and you get different workers. I heard you speaking earlier. Now you do your rocking with your weights and you walking and exercise, that sort of stuff. The amount of guys I see that have a Red Bull for breakfast and a big energy drink for breakfast and a bacon and egg sandwich or whatever else, and like, man, what are you doing? I need this to get going. I'm like, mate, you get out of bed at 5 in the morning and go for a run, have a good breakfast, you will feel 100% better. But I can't see that. They're just stuck in this main drain of have a Red Bull or a Monster and to get going for the day. And lunchtime, I'm doing the same thing. And it's like, man, you're just destroying your body. You're not going anywhere. Exercise is the biggest thing, mentally and physically, to get you going.
Eating clean, exercise, yeah, energy drinks, gas station food. That is in the blue collar workforce. Like if you go to a gas station at 6 a.m., you'll see all the guys running in for gas station food and stuff. Safety, I assume, is still probably a big thing in Australia, and everything's safety, safety, safety. Nobody ever wants to talk about, like, well, if you're 100 pounds overweight, are you more likely to trip on an uneven surface or down the stairs or lose your balance? And that is a big thing, but it's like a delicate thing because, like, there's in the United States, an employer can't be like, oh, you need to lose weight. Like the lawyers would be all over that. They can encourage it, but it's also how as an employer can I educate people or make it so that they eat healthier and try to adjust the schedule or stuff, because a lot of people assume that people know, but some people have never been in a home. They grew up without a home cooked meal,
Yeah.
and it was just eat whatever you can get. And when you're an adult, you don't just like wake up one day and like, oh, I need to cook my own food and yeah, be responsible. There are plenty of people who are in their 20s or 30s who don't know how to cook and don't know really how to care for themselves. And you will have better employees if you teach them how to do that. And also, the other side of it is teaching people how to manage their money. And if you have healthy employees who manage their money, I can guarantee they're going to make better employees. But that's outside of the normal, you come to work, you do stuff, I pay you handshake that employment has traditionally been. But the employers that are going to succeed in the future and are succeeding now are the ones that care for the employee beyond the you show up, you work, I pay you
Yeah,
agreement.
100%.
And it's hard for smaller companies. Everybody looks at large corporations, Google, and they're like, they have catering in the office, they have baristas in the office, they have all this stuff. It's like, yeah, well, when you pull in billions of dollars, you can have all that, but my revenue is only 15 million and I'm making 10% on that. How
Yeah,
am I supposed to do all this extra stuff and try to compete? And I don't know, there's not any real good answer beyond you have to try. Like there's no formula that,
no.
hey, if you just do this, everybody's going to be happy. And there's, as you said, with the $1,000, if you gave 5,000, somebody would be, oh, only 5? Man, if you can afford 5, why not 7? And there's always going to be that kind of employee where no matter what you do, it's never enough. You could pay for a gym membership. You could give them gift cards to grocery stores. You could give them Christmas bonuses. You could send them to training, and they would still find a way of, you're not doing enough for me.
Yeah, 100%. Now, we used to do boot camp. We used to get a personal trainer to come to work in the morning at 6 a.m. Sorry, 5:30 in the morning, and I was doing it as well. And he would run us through training drill, whether it be boxing that day or it'd be weights or running. He would give us a good flogging for 3 days a week in the morning and that was open to all my employees to come and do. We come in the morning, we had a shower there, and so we have an hour or 45 minutes of a boot camp training as such, and then you would have a shower afterwards and off to your day work, And a lot of guys embraced it and loved it, enjoyed it. A lot of guys didn't turn up. A lot of guys started, give it up, come back a little bit, but it's just too hard, or it's easy to go get a Red Bull, or you know, carry on that way. It was, and then we also I had a compulsory thing there once where we brought in a company where they do a skeleton. What do they call it? You go on a machine and it tells you how much water you got in your body, how much physical fat you got, what your BMI is. Gives you basically a printout of your body. And I didn't get the results. The results went direct to the guys. But it's just a bit of a wake up call to go, right, my name's Jeff. I said, Jeff, you are 185 high. You're this many pounds. Your BMI should be this. Your BMI is actually here. You've got this much physical fat. You've got this much muscle. And it goes through your whole process of your body of where you're at. And you go, wow, I've got this much water in my body or this much physical fat. What am I going to do about this? And it says you're going to have a heart attack or you're going to have this or that. It's a real wake up call for anybody to do that test. And I did that for all my employees there one morning for Toolbox. And it was I had some good feedback from that. It's something that people never do themselves, but I paid for it and did it all, and the guys had some good feedback, and a lot of guys started doing the boot camp after that, to get themselves healthier and eating better and that sort of stuff. But as you know, these days you get Uber Eats and you get whatever you want delivered to your door at lifting a finger. You're sitting on your couch and you can order whatever you want, burgers or hot dogs or fries or whatever else comes to your door, and you don't lift a finger. And that's just the mentality of where we are today.
Yeah, convenience. And it's also very easy to tell yourself, well, I'm working all these hours. I get home, I'm tired. I deserve this. Like, I could never cook a meal or eat healthy or wake up at 5 in the morning and exercise. I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
And what you tell yourself is going to be what your life is. And if you tell yourself that, then yes, you will never have the ability to eat healthy, and you will probably develop health problems, and that's how it is. You just
Yeah.
have to one day decide that you're going to change your life, which is very difficult, but it's making one small decision better at a time. So maybe you skip the gas station in the morning and you pack a lunch and eat breakfast. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't really eat breakfast. Well, you're going out to fix a boiler or do something, some physical activity, and your body needs fuel, and you just slept. And even if you eat something light, you need some carbs and some protein to get your body going. And the nutrition education is so big, and I find it odd because a lot of times I get down in the dumps of, I'm always like, man, boilers are not that hard. Like, why can't people just learn it? Like, I did it, other people did it. What is so difficult about it? But then I remind myself, I always try to look at other industries. One, not everybody is like me and has the same priorities. Everybody's life is different. But two, the fitness industry, there are millions and millions of people who their entire job is to help other people lose weight, get healthier, meal plans, all this stuff. And you would think that people know that in 2026, but they don't. You can't assume people know that, but it's not rocket science of move more, eat less calories, and you're going to lose weight and be healthier. But there's billions of dollars in the industry, fitness industry, to help people do that. So why should boilers be any different? I could, a lot of people ask for complicated courses. I'm like, I can build an entire company off of just saying the basics over and over and over again, because there's never going to be a time where everybody knows the basics. You know, if you look at, there's another guy I listen to, but he was talking about Dave Ramsey. I don't know if you know who Dave Ramsey is.
No, I'm not.
He's a big financial guy and has been for like 30 years of basically he helps people get out of debt, and he basically just says spend less money, and he's been doing that for 30 years and has built $1 billion company doing it. But at the end of the day, it's spend less money than you make. How hard could it be? Yet
Yeah.
he has a daily radio show and has all these employees and has this stuff and has been repeating it for 30 years. So why should that be any different with boilers? We just need to repeat the basics and yell them from the rooftops over and over and over again. And I constantly remind myself that the basics aren't basic with new people, and there's always going to be new people because new people come into the industry. There's always people aging out. There's people aging into the workforce. And there's never going to be a time when everybody is trained and everybody understands the basics and you build up. And I think it, like, especially to people who have been in the industry for 30 some years, it's easy to get insulated and to think about, like, why can't people just learn this? Like, I've learned the basics 30 years ago. Why can't we move beyond the basics? But every single day, there are people back, hey, we need to learn the basics. We need to learn the basics.
Yeah.
And there's never not going to be that, which is a great reminder to somebody who sometimes I get frustrated, but then I go talk to people and get out of my own mind and really realize of how basic training most people need, and teaching anything more complicated and spending tons of time on complicated stuff is mostly a waste of time until the basics are more widely understood, and you get a good path for people to learn the basics, which right now in America, it's mostly on the job training. There's some factory training and here and there, but one day, 2 day, how much can you learn? And then most employers stick people on the job and they hope they work out.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of problems with that. And it sounds like Australia is the same.
Yeah, pretty much the same, and it's hard, and even getting the guys to apply themselves to training. There's guys that go to a training course and they're there to learn, and they want to learn where the training course is. There's other guys that, well, I get a week off, go sit in the classroom and sit in the aircon for the AC for a week, and how good's this? And even like breakdown, going back to the fitness thing there and the mindset of people with their diet and exercising. You have a guy walk into a plant room to look at a low gas bowl on a boiler, and they'll go in there lethargic and dragging their feet and don't want to be there, and sweating and carrying on, and the low gas switch keeps tripping, so they'll adjust it down a little bit, and the fault's fixed now, it's all good, walk away, and then 2 days later the same fault appears. You send somebody else out and they go, the regulator's failing, and you get a new regulator and fix the gas switch. Me as an employer, I've got a bill there for a customer that I can't charge them for the first guy that went. And then the customer's struggled through 2 days now of low production because of this low gas fault. And my A guy out there, he's found the fault and fixed it. So it's the guy up on his feet, getting in there and wanting to find the fault and fix the fault rather than just try and get out of there is so hard to find these days.
What qualities make a service tech or somebody who is reliable? Because I think a lot of people have different definitions of A players, but I always describe it as, if you send them to the job site, you know the job is going to be done correctly. What kind of qualities, human qualities, and I don't know, even on the job, boiler specific qualities, things that they do that you found in your experience that makes them like that?
I always refer back, like there's a lot of things there, like presentation is a big thing. And there's a quote from Roger Penske. You know Roger Penske?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So he's got a quote there of presentation. If you get presentation right, everything flows on from there. And you look at that quote that he said and you think about it and you go, yeah, if your truck's nice and clean and sorted and organized, your uniform's good, you're feeling good about yourself, all your work is nice and clean and tidy and everything else, you're doing a good job. Everything just flows from that. So for me, as interviewing a technician, it starts from the time I send them an email or give them a phone call of how they react, how they respond, when they turn up to the interview, what car they're driving, how did they park. We used to have all my cars reversed parked in the parking lot. Do they come in and park on the angle and just leave the car and just jump out, or they reverse in? I start looking from the start of these people, of their qualities and you're driving into our premises, you're looking, going, right, what's the go here? What's the hazards? What's happening? What's the protocol here? And some guys are back in the same as everybody else. They come in, they ask and sign in and present themselves well. Other guys, I'm wearing flip flops and board shorts and singlet, looking for a job. Being like, hey, what are you doing here? You're wasting my time. So the guys come with a tie on and jeans and looking the part. They don't get a job. You look at a resume and they've got 50 different jobs. You're like, this guy's not a stayer. He's floated between different jobs trying to find his way or whatever else. So, but the quality in the plant room is somebody that doubts themselves and wants to find the fault. So rather than testing your theory, I suppose, is the way I look at it. You find a fault and you go, right, say it's a flow switch. Some guys would say, the flow switch is not making, so you need to buy a new flow switch. So they go down the hardware or the shop and get a new flow switch, come back, the fault's still here. And they find out it's the filter that's blocked or the pump's not working or something like that. So there's guys that will test the theory of, right, the flow switch is faulty. is it the flow switch or is it something else? They go back down the line, check the filters, check the pump, just to get their theory right and eliminate all everything else before they go, right, it's the flow switch, you know. So it's hard quality to find these days, but there is guys out there. There's some guys also, as you know, that just haven't got that. No, it's 100-degree day and they're like in a boiler room. They don't want to be there. They just somebody else's problem now. I can't fix this. Off they go. You know, it's really hard, especially as an employer. Sometimes, you know, you got all these guys on the road, and you know, myself or my sales guys are out selling the company brand, the name. You know, come use us. We're the best. We've got guys out there that we're using or employing to back that system up or that saying up, and some guys don't do that. It's frustrating, and I'm sure everyone's in the same boat all around the world. You got to have your A guys, you're going to have your learning guys, and you have your guys that just never going to make it. But sometimes you've got to plug holes. Sometimes guys in there to do stuff that just to service the customer. You know, it's a very unfortunate process sometimes.
Do you believe in the car inspection during the interview process and what that says about people?
I haven't walked down to their car and looked in their car, no. But from looking at their car when they're driving in, whether it's been washed and cleaned, and presentation is a good start. But going down looking in their car, I haven't done that.
There are many employers that will go out and look at the car inside, and because service technicians most often have their own vehicle, and if somebody trashes their own personal vehicle, they assume that they're going to also trash their service vehicle. And
Yeah.
as you said, the presentation matters. And if you roll up to a customer site, and I can't stand this, is when people use their dash as storage
Yes.
beyond like 1 to 2 things, and it's like just all kind of stuff up there. One, it's a safety hazard if you ever get into a crash, but two, it just looks terrible. And I'm not saying you got to have a perfect cab, but put it on the floor, put it behind your seat, and have some sense of organization. And when you get gas, throw away some trash and tidy up. But you got to a service call, and as you said, it's very different from both perspectives, because a service technician has 270 service calls a year, and every single one is about the same. They roll up, whatever, yeah. But on the customer side, if they have a good boiler, they may see somebody twice a year. And those 2 times, those 2 days, and those 2 interactions define how they view your company. And if your service technician is not trained to understand that while every day seems normal to you, and you know you're just getting by and all this other stuff, that customer is expecting our brand and our level of service that we're advertising and that we're charging for you to provide that day. And it could be the Friday before Christmas, and the technician has their mind on other stuff and just wants to get out of there, cut and run, and now you get that unbillable service visit, yet they still want to get paid for it, and it puts the employer in this weird, awkward situation of, I need people to employ, and yes, I understand not everybody's perfect, but at the same time, you didn't do your job, and you worked alone, so there's not a team of other people to like hold you accountable in the moment, and you cut out of there and you didn't fix the problem. How am I supposed to pay you for that day and not get paid from the customer?
Yeah, that's the thing, and also you can do a lot of shotgun work too. Excuse me, where you always say it's the controller, it's the gas switch, and you change out $5,000 worth of parts, and it turns out it's nothing to do with those at all. So you got to go back there and try and sell those to the customer, or take them off and put them on the shelf, or take them back to the supplier. But you know, you just wasted $5,000 in parts and labor, changing it all out, and you can't charge the client for it.
Yeah, I mean, there there are some employers out there that are making great money, but as contractors, it's all volume based. But if you are billing a lot of technicians, and this comes from a training thing, and it goes back and forth, but if you're paying a technician $40 an hour and billing at $250, the untrained person who doesn't understand financials just thinks it is raining cash at the company and that
Yeah,
they need to be paid more, and the employer is just taking advantage of them. And that's where I think a lot of employers could do a better job of, not that you need to open up your entire books, but hey, when you get on the road, it costs us $110 an hour just to break even. And that's truck costs, insurance costs, all this stuff. So if you go out and screw around for an hour, go burn $100 bill, and
yeah,
that's what happens. So every hour that you're unbillable, take $100 bill out of your pocket and burn it. And keep that in mind when, you're out, and it's hard and requires a lot of training and understanding. But once employees start understanding that, yes, the company could be making a lot of money, but most contractors don't have huge margins and everything's pretty tight, especially when you have terms, and even discussing like terms of like, hey, we went out and did 3 weeks worth of work for this customer and we put in this boiler. Yeah, we may get some upfront money, but we're now hoping that this customer pays us in 60 days or 30 days,
yeah.
and you can bill them, but there's really no guarantee that they're going to pay, and you just put out $100,000 worth of material and parts and labor, and you're just crossing your finger that the customer is going to pay you. If it's 30 days, billing cycle, things get lost in the mail, and then it becomes 45 days, but every Friday the employees expect their paycheck. So it's this
100%.
balance. And it's not that, poor employer or poor employee, but it's mutual understanding of both sides that employees make up a company, and if there's a net drain of energy from the employees of the company doesn't exist because it doesn't have anything left.
Yeah,
But on the opposite side, if the company just drains all the energy out of the employees, then you're not going to be able to develop employees and retain them and have good culture. And that's a very delicate balance to go back and forth with. And that's where company culture and management becomes so important to retain people. And we talked about training people and then having them leave. Well, if you can get a culture of where people are trained up and have fun at work and enjoy their coworkers, they are less likely to leave, or they'll regret leaving if they do.
yeah.
And it's hard to get there, especially when you're just desperate for work and hiring anybody. And if you don't have standards, and this is easy to say as somebody looking from the outside in, but if you don't have standards for employees, and anything goes, and it's hard to maintain a culture or even try to get a culture, because if there's no punishment or no sitting down and talking to of, hey,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's, that's right, the problem too, well, I sort of grew a business from myself being in charge and running guys and scheduling guys to putting a coordinator in place and then a manager in place and a sales guy and then I want a plane going to America or Italy or overseas and stuff like that or over east and um you're leaving the business in charge with people you trust and no one's ever going to run that business the way you want to run it. Your ideas and your inspiration, your way of thinking. You think they might want to do that, but it's like you said, it's got to be a culture that has to be built from the top. And I lost my way a bit there. Obviously, in the end, I had a buyer for the company who wanted to buy me out. They wanted to add the energy system or business to their business unit, and we were at a point where we were going into a head of agreement to sell the company, and we had a toolbox meeting which is where we have all the guys come into the shop once a month and we talk about safety issues and uh, faults we had, how we fix faults and different things happening and what the company's doing and everything else. And I stood there with all the guys there and I said, man, I can't do this. I can't sell these guys out. They're like my family, I can't. I feel like if I sold the company, I'm just gonna walk away and use them, and the guys wouldn't like me for that. So I reneged on the deal. I said, no, I can't sell the business. I want to keep the business. And in hindsight now, I should have sold it then, but I cared about the guys as such more than myself and my family, unfortunately. And hindsight's a wonderful thing. At the time, I said, no, I can't do it because I just can't rep- sell the guys. It was a hard thing. But anyways, you live and learn and move on. And I think what we're talking about today, and we talk all the time, it's going to be here for a long time yet, just training. And everyone's got different problems in their world. Their wife or their partner's left them or wants to leave them, or their kids are sick, or there's so many things you don't know what's going on in people's world, and you just go, man, what's wrong with that guy today? He's not himself. That's normally he's good at this, but they've got a week or a month there. They're just in a different world, and you can't ask them what's going on, but you can just offer them want to talk about stuff. But everyone's got different things in their life going on, and some days they're good, and some days they're just way off the mark. It's a big challenge.
It is very difficult when people are working alone and you don't have like teams that, yeah, there's life events, somebody dies, somebody's going through a divorce, all that stuff. And the person is not going to be at their best. People who don't understand contracting and employment are like, oh, you should give them a month paid off or 2 months paid off. And you can do that if you're a giant company. But if you're a small company, you can want the best for them. But at the end of the day, you can't spend a ton of time and money on them, even if you want to, because you have to keep the business going. And
Yeah.
if they start dragging the business down, there's only so much you can do. And now you can say, you can work with them and, hey, take this week off. And if you need more time, I can pay you at 50% of your rate and all this stuff. And there's ways around it and have a conversation. But at the end of the day, business is business, and you can't sink the ship for everybody's problems. And the opposite side of that is, as a service technician, you want to replicate being a robot as close as possible. You want to show up to the customer's site and you want to perform perfectly as close as possible to maintain the company image, to maintain your own standards, company standards, and to fix the problem correctly. And if you are thinking about something else and doing all this stuff, you may get hurt. That's when safety incidents happen, and
Yeah.
you may take shortcuts and not fix stuff correctly, and it puts the company and the customer and everybody in a weird, difficult situation because the customer doesn't care that you're going through a divorce. They want their problem fixed, and yeah,
Get in production again. Yeah.
there's no right answer. And a lot of employers struggle with this because a lot of boiler service companies are smaller companies and the owners care. And it's not this ownership in this big castle in this faraway land where, they're just, oh, we're going to lay off 1,000 employees. Like, that's not how it is.
No.
And the boiler world is very, very small. I know every industry says they're very small, but the amount of people that work on commercial industrial boilers is very slim compared to other industries. And most owners are doing their best to keep the lights on and deal with customers and non-payment and getting sued and
warranty callbacks and all sorts of stuff like that. It's a never-ending story. And you say there about helping guys out. There's some guys that you'll genuinely help out, and they genuinely appreciate it, and they'll work back extra hours and not charge you for it, and to make up for it. And there's other guys that will take full advantage of that and more. And they just it wrecks the company. There's different people take a bit of rope and give it back, and there's some just keep taking more and more and more. But unfortunately, in the boiler game, like you said, there's technicians are very scarce, and they got it over the employers. I don't know about in America, but in Australia here at the moment, the uh, the employer works for the employee pretty much. They're tied to pay these guys to look after them to make sure they stay and do a good job and everything else. They know they can get a job down the road with somebody else tomorrow. So,
What is the difference between Boilertronics and then Boilertronics with an X?
so when the boiler was business was sold to new owners, so the administrators sold it to a new company, and the company that bought it do heat exchangers. So with the brand change, when they bought the business, they decided to change it to Boilertronics rather than Boilertronics. So it's the same company, the guys that bought the company pretty much. So the company I had is still running, but they just changed the name, same employees here and stuff. So yeah.
You mentioned it, but during COVID, you had a big job, costs got inflated for whatever reason, mysterious reason, and essentially you just got stuck between cash running out, and I don't know if work continued. In America, there was more work than ever during COVID. I've never worked so many more hours. I was busier than ever during COVID, and I'll tell you what, I don't know if you had the whole essential, non-essential workers thing, but I figured out real quick that all unessential workers are the ones that make up traffic,
Yeah.
because I could zoom around during rush hour and get everywhere I wanted without any traffic, and it was the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, we were the
But
same. Like, we were flat out here during the COVID period. The problem we had, it wasn't just a one job. One job was the big tick, I suppose. But we had a lot of government contracts, a lot of service contracts in place for like a 3 or 5 year deal. And obviously, with the labour rates and everything else going up and parts going up, we were still stuck to that contracted price for a lot of our customers for the next 3 or 2 or 1 year on that service contract. So we were losing money on those hand over fist. Um, and you could go back. Some of them recognise it. They would give you a hand, and they would help you out. The government ones would say no, like the hospitals. They said no. You've got a contract. You've got to stick to it. So, but yeah, the big one was the big boiler one there. You can't just, as a director, you can't legally just be running insolvent for $1.5 million. I couldn't do it. I went back to them and said, look, we'll do an open book and we'll do 5% markup. I'll show you all my costs. The costs are here. Let's do a deal, and they wouldn't be in it. So it sucks, and it is what it is. Yeah, it was a pretty sad day. I did that. It was and it hurt me for a long time. And like I said to you before, I sold the business, and then I'd stopped. Um, I'd switched off at that point because anything I was going forward from there, I didn't need to worry about. Not my problem anymore. In a month's time, I'm going to sell this joint and stuck in my pod. I'll still be there for a period of time, but all those headaches will be all gone. And I switched off, and I never really recovered mentally back to that point. So the day I said no, and then they sort of walked away, I never got myself back in the game again of running the business. I suppose I sort of let it lapse out of my grasp, and just I give up. Like I couldn't function. I was just looking at my emails, clicking send receive, looking for next email. Stuff would come through, and you couldn't deal with it. And if there was a breakdown, there was no one to do it. Oh, I'll go do that, and you go do a breakdown. You got an excuse to get out of the office and go and do a breakdown. It was, I never believed in mental health until that point. And afterwards, and I had some very wealthy people that who are mates of mine. I went to see them first about administration process and that sort of stuff, and they wanted to help me out. They wanted to, give me the money to trade through it and work on with it. But I just said to the guys, honestly, guys, I'm not mentally fit enough to run this business. And they said, we can get someone to run it for us and everything else. I'm still a firm believer that you need to have boiler knowledge to run a boiler company. You see guys come in who are CEOs or CFO or they've been managing a plumbing company or a HVAC company. You need to go and talk boiler to a client occasionally, and well, not occasionally, a lot of the times. I didn't want to take their money and fail and waste my buddy's money as such. So yeah, mental health's a big thing, man. And I was big on, as I said before, on exercising and everything else, and at that point there, I couldn't even get myself to go for a run or go for a walk, or I was just stuck in this dark black hole of nowhere land as such. And it took me a long time going through the process of going through the administration process and that sort of stuff. I had a really great wife, and she's still with me now, my kids. And, at the end of the day, in the morning you wake up, you still got air in your lungs, and away you go. It's life goes on. And really hard thing, and the opportunities I had to. We had a big company here in Australia, and it was probably one of the biggest divisions in Australia as far as employee goes in the work. And we were servicing 1,500 appliances a year in our state, looking after on our books. So it was a big operation. And I probably, speaking to my accountant and everything else, I probably needed to have a CFO involved in the business. And looking at that, it's like, you got to pay them 200 grand a year, but I couldn't afford to do that. But in hindsight, you could afford to do it because your business could have grown and got bigger and that sort of stuff. So there's two ways to look at that. You can't afford it, but you sort of have to find a way to afford it. And those guys are professionals, and that's what they do. If I wanted to buy a new truck, I just went and bought a new truck. There was no theory to it or no strategy to it. It was just, I need a new truck, I'm going to buy it, whether I can afford it or not. I just go and get finance and buy a new truck, and off you go. And you go buy some tools for it, analyzers and shelving and visors and electrical tools, ladders, and set it up for a guy, and away you go. But you just no strategy in planning that. You're going to fork out 60 grand worth of money here, and what's the payback on that? There was no strategy on that, I suppose. So that's where you get your CFO, I suppose, involved, or someone like that to guide you through that process. And like say, no, you can't do it. Yes, you can. So there's a bit of learning there on the way through.
So you did end up selling the company?
So what happens in Australia? So I hand the business over to an administrator, and the administrators then take charge of the company. So I get removed as a director. They're then responsible for all the costs and invoicing and money coming in. And then they assess the business, see if it's viable to sell to somebody, or whether they just close the doors and liquidate it. They had a look at the books. Yeah, it's a good business. We'll find a buyer for this. And they put it to market, and it took them about 6 months, and they found a buyer for the business. And they just take on the employees, the customers, all the trucks, and trade on as normal under a different identity as such.
Did you
So
get any money from that?
me, no, it all goes to the administrators. No, I had to. My wife had to refinance the house to get the house out of my name and her name, and we had to give money to the administrators for my half of the share of the business. So basically, we're back to square one again, and I can't be a director of a company for 3 years. I can't drive a vehicle worth any more than $10,000. I can't have any credit cards. I can't have anything to that. So it's a bit of a dull process, but like I said, still breathing, still got my family and my buddies. You didn't. My best friends, I was so embarrassed to ring them and tell them what I'd done. You feel like a failure, but they were the first ones there, and they just, yeah, no worries, we'll help you through this and give me a hand and um, lend us some money for shopping or for food or just little stuff like that. It was you don't know who your real mates are until they that situation, and you're all embarrassed about it and scared about it. But they didn't care, man. They're still my buddies today. We had drink for them on Christmas Eve. It's still and their families are all still together. It's up in the road, but still buddies. It's a really good thing to know. That people need to reach out. Don't be embarrassed about what's going through your life. Just talk to people. It's there's people there, your best buddies or your family, whatever else. Um, they don't care if they're real friends. They just help you out.
What role did your wife play in support and being a business owner as far as mental health?
She was a big part of that. So my wife, um, she was not part of the business at all. So she was just a stay-at-home mom looking after the kids. She got involved in the business there in the end for about the last 12 months. She wanted something to do. And because the kids are getting a bit older now, so they're at high school and that sort of stuff, you know. But just the support, I suppose, is, you know, you got to have I call them a boiler wife. You know, for years they were getting phone calls at 2 in the morning from me. It wakes them up too, you know. Or, you know, we would go to, on Valentine's Day, we go to a restaurant there one day, I remember, nice flash restaurant there in town. And I spent the whole time outside on the phone to our technician on a breakdown uh, for like an hour and a half. And she's just sitting inside there by herself on Valentine's Day, you know. So you got to have a really good partner in crime, I suppose you call it. And just their support and willingness to accept that what I've done wasn't intentional. It was just the way things are, and things happen that way. It's and the kids as well. We tried to shield the kids as much as we can, but eventually, well, they haven't got the flash cars anymore. They haven't got the nice big flash holidays in 5-star hotels and flying business class and this sort of stuff anymore. It's all we haven't had a holiday for 2 years, put it that way, since we went into administration. So the kids are definitely feeling a bit different what our lifestyle was way back then. But you know, it's my parents as well, and my family, and Lisa's side of the family, my wife's family, all the support us, and no one ragged on us or told us you're stupid or what to do this for, what to do that. They just get on like normal and help us out. You know, it's been humbling, I suppose you'd call it.
I would, in my experience, and from what I've known, the spouse of the business owner in the boiler world, it's normally a female, but you need somebody who is ride or die. And even if the business is going great, no business owner goes to sleep at night like, oh, I have no problems. Nobody's suing me. All my employees are happy. Everything's gravy. Because if you have everything set up perfectly, the problems that come to you are the biggest problems that nobody else can deal with. So you are essentially always seeing the bad, and it can be very depressing. And if your spouse isn't there, as you know, if they're there for the lifestyle, or if they're not actually committed, it's so, I don't know, I'm not married, but in today's world, everybody, I don't want to say everybody, but it is so common in culture, especially in America, to be wishy-washy, and the second things get hard, people bounce in anything. You know, oh, my job gets hard, my employer's pushing me, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm quitting, this person's going to go pay $2 more an hour, or they want me to do this. No, I ain't doing that. And people seek comfort, and women in general seek comfort and security. And if their husband is going through ups and downs of business ownership, you gotta have a girl who is right there with you. And yeah, I've talked to a lot of business owners, and they always bring up the supportive spouse and how important that is, you know, because at the end of the day, it's just you two at night, and everybody else, while you can have friends that are employees, everybody else will jump ship if the business starts going down.
Yeah.
So you gotta develop that relationship at home and keep that relationship. And also the opposite side of that is some people get married to the business and neglect their family, neglect the kids, and it's a delicate balance of, I think it's seasons. Not that I've been through it, but it's seasons of, I'm in a season of just balls to the wall working. But once the business is stable and cash flowing, it's all right. Like, let's get some structure in place, and because you'll drive yourself mad if you just take phone calls 24/7 and you're constantly putting out fires that other people could do for you.
Yeah,
And yeah, you just gotta build structure. But yeah, supportive spouse, key to running a business or even anything. Even if you're an employee, to have somebody to come home to and know that you can have your ups and downs with. Yeah.
yeah, it's a big part of life. You know, like I said, the guys are getting calls at 2 in the morning to go to a breakdown. Their wife's getting the phone call too. She's getting woken up, and you know, and you say about neglecting the kids and the family there. You know, I probably did that a lot as well with growing the business. You know, getting on a plane and going to America for a week. And you know, there's a time there where my son broke his leg on the day before I flew out to go to Europe for a business trip. You know, and I'm like, man, do I stay home? Do I go? She said, no, you go. You got things to do. And I'm like, I need to go really because there's guys here to see me. You know, I can't just pull out now and waste an airfare. You know, and my wife would stay home and look after my kid in a full leg cast and wheelchair pretty much. And I just flew off to Europe for a business trip. And you know, you're not sightseeing. You're not going around doing stuff you normally do in Europe. You sort of get to the airport, on the plane, to the hotel, to the factory, couple of days, make some dinner at night time, and then back on the plane in 2 or 3 days time, and you're out of there. You know, it's and all the time you're just thinking about your family the whole time while you're away. And when you go to America or you're so far away, you can't help them. But yeah, like I said, lucky I had a very supportive wife and very capable wife, and she wasn't here for the money; she was here for me. So um, it was very good, and I still got them today. So it's humbling and a great thing to still have. You know, I lost the business, but I still got my wife and my kids. So that's the main thing.
Yeah. Family, big thing. I'm sure Australia is the same, but it's rare to have a cohesive family in America. And even friends, it's rare to have friends that are, Kenny Chesney song. I believe it's Kenny Chesney, or you find out who your friends are.
Yeah,
And when everything's going great and you're at the top of the mountain, everybody wants to be your friend. But when you're in the valley and you call people or text them and they don't reply, and yeah, it can be very difficult because you start questioning, the whole mental health thing. You start questioning of, like, were we ever friends? Like, what is everything? Is every relationship just transactional? Is everybody out for their own good, and nobody will be inconvenienced? And the greatest thing I've learned is sometimes you just need to show up when it's inconvenient.
yeah,
And I was at a men's conference a year ago or so, and it was there was a guy speaking, and this was like 50 people, 60 people. It wasn't this big thing, but it was this guy speaking, and forget what he was going through. Family died or something, and he constantly got texts from people that were like, "Hey, sorry about whatever. Let me know if I can do anything." And he said all he wanted was somebody to show up for him when he was at his low point. And so many people today will send those texts of, "Oh, thinking about you. Let me know if I can do anything." But sometimes it's not, let me know if I, people, hey, let me know if I can do anything. Because somebody at their low, as you said, you don't really want to ask people to do stuff, but somebody who just drives and shows up and sits with you, you don't even have to say anything, sits with you and is there for you,
yeah,
goes a long way versus people just, oh, let me know if I can do anything, which is very surface level. A lot of people mean well for it, but it, there's also a lot of people, if you do ask them, let me know if I can do anything. Hey, do this. Oh, well, I can't really do that. And
Yeah.
because it inconveniences them. And
Yeah, they're watching the ball game tonight, you know?
yeah, oh, there's a football game on. And oh, I'll watch sports here and there, but I've never understood the people who go to a wedding and will have a football game on their phone in the wedding, and like, oh, you scheduled your wedding during this big college football game. And I'm like, okay, like, are you going, if you're going to go to the wedding, you should be there in the moment. If you're putting
100%.
sports if you're putting sports over being in there in the moment, you should just not even go. And so many people do that all through life, and it is hard to figure out who's really there for you and who, especially the more, not that I've experienced this, but the more wealth and fame and status that you get, everybody wants to be your friend.
100%. And I've definitely felt that as well. You know, like I said, I've got my four buddies or 5 or 6 buddies that we hang around with, had done for 30 years. And there's other ones that have slid by the wayside because I don't fit in their, I got no money anymore, you know, so strange,
So
strange old
what are you
thing.
doing now?
So basically, I'm driving a semi, as you guys call them. So my wife's got a business in her name, so I can't do it in my name, and she bought a truck and everything else, and we're off driving road trains and oversized equipment around Western Australia. So a lot less stressful, easy work, but to me, I don't want to offend any semi drivers, but it's brain dead work. You just get in and tend the steering wheel for 10, 12 hours a day and go for a run. You know, it's to me, it's not. Don't use your brain very much. You know, it's not challenging enough for me. You know, so, but anyhow, we've got to make some money somehow, and that's the easiest way for us to do that at the moment. And we're surviving, so yeah, it is what it is.
Is it a cab over semi?
Yes, Kenworth.
I
Yeah,
find that interesting, as cab overs in America are very rare. They don't make them anymore that I know of, but I think in Europe they're cab overs due to there's some law for the total length of
yeah,
the
that's
truck
right.
and trailer.
Yeah, same in Australia, but we get both. Yeah, we get bonded trucks here, or you get a cab over in Australia, but it's different requirements for different lengths of combinations you can run. So, um, yeah, yeah.
Are
So,
you are you staying on the west side, or do you ever cross over the center?
I've been over the centre. I've been out through. I took a 4.6 meter wide load. So I don't know what that is in feet. I couldn't convert that for you. Probably about 14 feet wide tank across from Western Australia across to Queensland, which is basically from one side to the other. There was 1,200 kilometres of dirt. So I don't know how many miles that is. Probably 700 miles of dirt road or corrugations, and no road access out there. It's just total isolation. You know, 107-degree heat all day. It's yeah, it's good to see the country and something different. Yeah, you still get some calls from old clients or old staff members, that sort of stuff at the boiler industry, and I'm still following it on LinkedIn and looking at people's websites, see what they're doing, and see who's selling what boilers now. And no, I miss going to the trade shows in America. They were really good to go to look at technology and the stuff going forward. I never went to the Vegas one. This year's in Vegas. Like to go, but I've been to the other ones in Chicago and Orlando and where's the other one? Uh,
It depends, but
Atlanta.
Atlanta,
Yeah,
Orlando. Right now, it seems to be Orlando, Chicago, Vegas rotation.
yeah,
They've
that's it.
Over the years they've slimmed down the cities, and that's for all the listeners. We're talking about the AHR Expo that is in Las Vegas at the end of January, about 4 weeks from this recording, and I would highly recommend people go. It is free. You just have to get yourself there in a hotel. But yeah, I am going. If anybody else that is listening, hit me up. I'll be there. But yeah, it's always a good time and it's great. I like it. Expos are they're obsolete from because of the internet. I don't think any manufacturer announces anything at an expo that doesn't make it to the internet first. But you build four walls in your life of like what is normal. But then you go to this expo and even stuff that's outside your industry, just general HVAC stuff, you're just exposed to so much that
Yeah,
you just broaden your horizons very, very quickly over the course of 2 to 3 days. Where searching on the internet, it would take, like, it's one of those things of you don't even know what to search. But when you can walk past 1,000 booths of 1,000 different companies, it is, even if that's not your industry, it's great to kind of just keep tabs of what's going on. And then also the other side of it is the people side of, you get to meet people that you send emails to all year and develop relationships and businesses relationships. And with AI and the internet and everything virtual and all that nonsense, I think relationships is still going to be a primary player and key. And I mean, what's your take on that? Do you think the human need for in-person relationships is going to people are going to need more or less when we have the internet, social media, now AI doing all this nonsense?
yeah. I think for me, you need to have that personal touch of face-to-face meetings. When I was doing a deal with Hearst to represent them in Australia, people were saying just do it on the internet, just talk to them on online, and I said, no, I want to go meet these guys face to face, see their factory, see how they do their stuff, meet all the stuff there, and the Hearst people, the family. Man, that's a great company, really great company. And every year, prior to the expo, they have a brunch where they get all their suppliers, all their reps from around the world, and they have an awards ceremony there. And they hire out. We hired out a big room there at the stadium there in Chicago, I think it was. Um, and we hired a place in Disneyland one year, and they had a big spread of food and awards and people talking from, you see guys from Mexico, China, Australia, New Zealand, South America, all these guys talking about boilers all day, and they get some innovation there on some of their stuff that's coming up with their latest technology and economizers or burner controls or control panels and that sort of stuff. So it's great to talk to them guys. And I'm friends with guys on Facebook. I talk to guys on Snapchat and Facebook about the social stuff, not even boiler related. This relationships you got is really cool to have. And then, like I said, going to those expos, you walk around. There's thousands of booths, and 2 days you walk past there twice really because you miss everything. You do it twice, and you find more stuff you didn't see the day before. Technology in a different industry, and you go, right, how can I apply that to the boiler industry? But I was always big about point of difference and being a leader in the industry. So going to those expos in Europe or America, you come back with contacts and ideas and um, put them into action in Australia and be a leader in the industry, and on the front foot rather than just waiting for somebody else to do it and then follow suit. Go and find these guys, talk to guys that have got experience with this stuff already, and yeah, I highly recommend it to anybody, technicians or service coordinators, anybody in the industry. If you're in the boiler game or HVAC game, plumbing, whatever, just go to these places and have a look around. They are a really good show.
Absolutely. Yes. It's worth it. It's also worth it. Uh, Generally, the companies bring the same people every single year. Bring one of your technicians. I know it's going to cost you money,
Yeah,
but bring somebody new, and expose them to different things and bring them along and show that you are investing in them and you want them to open up their horizons and think differently and think bigger. And yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's
and you have some
great
fun
that
there too. You go and meet guys, and you go to dinner, and you're drinking beer till 12 in the morning, or 2 in the morning sometimes. Having a good time and just being social rather than talking about ballers all the time. There's a lot of that goes on too. And the last time I was in Vegas, I sent my sales guy and my manager across. I stayed home. I don't know why, but like I said, I'm investing in your staff to go and meet people, look at technology, bring back ideas, and let's build a business case for it, and let's go forward. They're really good events to go to. So very hard from Australia because the jet lag is it's a killer. You need to go business class. I'll give you the tip. Have a sleep on the way home, on the way there, because when you're there during the day, it's our night time in Australia, and you get to about 9 o'clock or 9 a.m. in the morning there, and you're ready to go to bed. You need to keep walking around this big pavilion. But yeah, it's still good fun. I would recommend to anybody around the world. So, and the friends I've got now from around the world, I've got friends in the UK I speak with regularly that we catch up every time we go to UK and to UK to America, and we catch up and have a good time, stay in the same hotel, and go to dinner and stuff like that. It's really cool. Speaking border and speaking normal stuff as well. Good time.
absolutely. Well, we're been going a while. Do you have any last thoughts? Any questions for me or
No,
anything
I don't
else?
think so.
I think
I just really appreciate what you're doing for the boiler industry, man. And like you said, you're doing stuff based in America, but we're doing the same. I listen to your podcasts, and, the guys talking about stuff and boiler issues and everything else. We're all in the same boat, man. We're a sort of different breed of people, I suppose you call it, in the boiler game. We People don't know what we. People say, "What do you do?" You're a boilermaker. No, I'm a boiler technician. I service boilers. What's a boiler? I said, we go to your home and you've got a little thing there for your hot shower. We have bigger ones than that do a whole building or a whole facility. You know what I mean? So and they don't even know when they go into the office in town that there's a boiler upstairs we work on that keeps them warm at day when in the wintertime, or their cereal they get in the morning or their milk from the dairy, it's all got steam or hot water on the way processed there to make an asphalt. It's just so many industries that we cover that people don't know what we do. I've never heard of us, or a boiler as such. So it's a very unique industry. And that's the thing I would say to guys when I was starting them off as a Sparky. Like, if you can get into this game and you enjoy it, it's very rewarding sometimes. A lot of the times when you can fix a boiler and get it back online again and feel good about yourself, but there's not many guys around. So if you can be good in the industry and make a name for yourself, you're going to have good employment, good money. But you need to apply yourself, and there's going to be some times where it's going to suck. You're going to be on call New Year's Eve or on call Christmas Day, or it's your birthday and you're working, an abattoir somewhere or something. There's times where it sucks, but there's times when it's good too. And it's a very unique industry, and I'm very lucky to be part of it. I feel it's yeah, it's been good to me.
well said. Yes, the trying to explain boilers to the general public, we've gotten so good as in America, and I also assume Australia, that people just assume it's like cardboard boxes just show up on their front porch from
Yeah,
Amazon, and nobody ever wonders how, like, who made this cardboard box? How is this made? And tires just show up at the tire store,
yeah,
and the general public has gotten very far away from manufacturing, and everything just shows up. I remember watching a video, and a dad asked his kids where milk comes from, and they said the grocery store.
yeah,
And he's like, yeah, but who makes milk? Well, the grocery store. And a lot of people, not to fault the kids, but well, milk comes from cows. But a lot of people, especially younger people, just go to the grocery store and they expect food to be on the shelf, but they never wonder what was the process to get that food there? Like they may look on the label for some fruit and it says like grown in Mexico, and you're in the northeast of the United States. And it's like, okay, well, if this was grown in Mexico and it's fruit, it's perishable. So it had to be picked at some point and then cleaned, packaged, shipped, and then laid out at the grocery store, and it's now in my hand, and I can buy it for $4.
Yeah.
So, like, that is magic in itself. And then combined with everything else, making cereal and all that other stuff, there's a lot of food manufacturing uses tons of boilers, tons of steam. Bread uses lots of steam, or ovens, process burners.
Yeah. Small goods, your bacon and your hams and that sort of stuff's all done with steam.
Yes. So, well, I appreciate you coming on the Boiler Wild podcast, and I appreciate you sharing the insights from the world down under Australia. I still don't understand how y'all don't fall off the globe because you're upside down the whole time. But yes, appreciate it. Thank you, and we'll keep in touch.
No worries, mate. Thanks for your time and all the best for the new year.